Okay, let's design a part. Minimize OBS. So your part, you want to clip, you want to do a table, these some measurements. I'm going to insert canvas, insert from my computer, downloads, USB hub. There's your picture. We'll put that on the, make it vertical, why not? There it is, and there's the picture. I reach over here and grab a pair of calipers and the USB plug. The USB plug is 12.06 millimeters wide. So to canvases, USB hub, calibrate. This is not going to be perfect. You're going to want to double check these measurements. 12.06 millimeters. Make sure we're set to millimeters. They are. Awesome. I'm going to create a sketch now, but I'm not actually going to use this sketch. This is purely for measurements. So take the line tool, go from here to here. And it says that's 40.2 millimeters. It's probably 40 if we get rid of the foreshortening. I'm going to make another line from here to here. It says it's 85. So I'm going to say it's 40 by 85. With this perspective, I'm not skilled enough to get a depth on this, so eyeballing it, it's about 2/3 as, maybe a little less than 2/3 as thick as it is wide, so I'm going to say it's 25 millimeters thick. So we get 25 by 40 by 85. Okay, all that done, Control Z and get rid of it all. Oh, you know what? No, there's one more thing. So, can we see the table you want to mount this to? Not really. So we'll figure that out later. So I'm going to Control Z to undo the sketch here. So now I've just got the canvas. I'm going to modify the canvas to move it out of the way. I don't want it near the origin. Turn the origin on, I can see it. Perfect. And now we're actually going to sketch. Before we sketch, we're going to create a new component. Insert, assemble, new component. And the first component we're going to make is going to be the USB hub. Here in the USB hub, create a rectangle. We're going to even center it. We're going to be fancy smancy here. Rectangle, center rectangle, start here in the origin. Back to our measurements, I said it was 40 wide by 85 tall. Nope, tab. 85 tall, 40 wide. There we go. Now, in your original photograph, the edges of this were chamfered. I don't know what, not chamfered, radius. I don't know what that radius is, and it's not really going to matter. This is just to get some semblance of the model. So now push pull this. So the command I hit there was Q, or you can use this extrude. And we guessed that it's about 25 millimeters thick. So there's your USB hub. Just to be fancy schmancy, create another sketch on this. There are 1, 2, 3, 4 buttons on this. I'm going to Create a rectangle. What do I want to create a rectangle? Right there. And zooming in a bit, I want this side and this side, since they're square buttons, I want them to be equal. So now I've got a little square here that's going to be the button. If I grab this little square, I should be able to move it. As far as for the size of these, eyeballing it, what size is that? That's 11. 10 feels like a good number. I'm going to create a rectangular pattern. Here's the object that I want to rectangulate. There's going to be 4 of them. I said 4 of them. Hello. I would like these to be centered. There are lots of ways to do that. This is the way I'm going to choose to do that. This is an X here for a construction line. I want to come here. I'm making another line from the midpoint to the central axis. X to make it a construction line. And I'm going to select this line and this line and make them, I want to make them perpendicular, but I don't see my perpendicular constraint up here. Where are you, big fella? There you are. Okay. Ta-da! Now that's centered. I've said that this and this need to be equal. Why is it unhappy? Well, maybe these aren't marked as perpendicular. When I say unhappy here, I mean that the line is not solid black, it's soft black, which means that something in here can be moved around. Well, that's one thing that can be moved around. D for dimension. So let's say that's 4. All of this is really just putzing around. It's visual, so that I'll have the little buttons. Push the little buttons out. And so I have something pretty to look at. Oops. Control selecting those. And then I'm going to bring those out 3 millimeters. All right, there's my model of your USB hub. That's it. And this component is done. Now I want to make a mount for that. To make a mount for it, I have to decide what I want it to look like. I can make just something that's a pocket that slides into, and then you can double stick tape it, or I can make something that's got a clip on it, or yeah, it's really I could make clips a couple different ways. So now that I have this, I'm going to create a new component, assemble a new component. It's asking here who the parent is. I don't really understand what difference that makes. I'm going to say that the parent is the root of the canvas. That might be wrong, so don't hold me to that. Oh, this is my component. I put it in the wrong spot. Control Z to undo that. Now select this guy, assemble new component, and this is going to be the mount. Mount. Okay, like everything else, I'm going to start with I might start with a sketch. Yeah, I think I'm going to start with a sketch. Okay, so I'm going to create a sketch here on this plane. No, I'm not. I'm going to cancel, Control Z. So Session seems like I'm dancing around a little bit here. I'm trying to decide how I want to do it. So I want to create a sketch on the back side of this box. There we go. Right, so I'm looking at the back side of the box. Now here in the sketch, I need to project, which is P to project inside sketch mode. The geometry that I want to sketch project is these edges right here. Okay. Now with that projected in place, I can uncheck the bodies to hide the body. So this is the back of the kit. Now, I'm going to offset the back of the kit by some amount. Slate. Modify. There we go. Offset. Okay. And choose how big we want to offset this. So I'm going to do how thick I want the case to be. So when I'm putting my little tool holders, I do them 4 millimeters thick, and that's a good measurement for those. So we'll do -4. And then I'm going to add another 0.5 millimeter here because I want some wiggle room around the case so that it's not a tight fit. 3D printers struggle to print things in specific sizes. And so we want a little bit of tolerance. There's several ways you can do the tolerance. I'm going to do the tolerance now. So you'll see what that looks like. So I'm going to do another offset. Again, I'm going to pick the same plane that I started with, and this time -0.5. Okay. And then now, last thing that I want to do is this geometry that I projected in here. I'm going to select it, and I'm going to use the X key to turn it into construction lines. So construction lines are just so you can, they're references. They're not specific amounts. I mean, they're not something that you can project a shape from. Right. So I've got my walls are going to be 4.5 millimeters thick, and then my tolerance, my empty space around the part is 0.5 millimeter. Finish. Now I'm going to do 2 projections here, or two push pulls. So I want the push pull tool, which is Q, or this guy. Pick this one and this one. I'm going to turn the bodies back on so you can see what I'm doing here. I'm going to bring this back -4 millimeters and make it into a new body. So that's the back of the component. Now when I extended that, it automatically goes in and hides the sketch. I'm unhiding the sketch. I'm re-hiding the body, but no, we'll leave the body visible. Now I've got 2 separate sketches here. There's the original body, and this is the part that's got the tolerance on it. I only want this outer wall. Stretch it out. And it's going to ask me how far I want to stretch it out. And so I make it exactly the height of the body, of the USB hub. I can do that by clicking that here. That's 25 millimeters. And that works. That's fine. Okay. Now I can turn off the original body and turn off the canvas. And there's the mount. So the mount, as it is right now, does not have anything to hold it in place. And I see something here. You see this solid line? Is that because there's a sketch there? It is there. So there's the body. So we're going to want some way to hold the USB hub in there, and we want some way to mount this. So we'll do some way to mount it first. So I'm going to go back in, and I want to create a couple of mounting holes. A few ways you can do that. You just click the hole tool here, click on this, pick a spot for the hole, and just eyeball it and then put in the parameters. I like to make a sketch for the holes. So I click the sketch tool. I picked this back face here. Right. I'm going to turn the origin off because it's in my way. I'm going to make a line. So I hit L for line, come across. There's this, down, and I picked the midpoint here. So this is going to be right in the center of this line. And there's an X. Let's turn that into a construction line. And now I want some place to put my holes. Two different ways I can do that. I could go ahead and create circles on this line. Here's how I would do that. Here's a circle. Let's make that not a construction circle. So X again to turn it into a real circle. D to give it a dimension. We'll say it's 5 millimeters. We'll do 8 because that's a good size for a wood screw. 8 millimeters. Then I want that to be evenly spaced. Come down here, find the midpoint of this line, create another little line. It's another construction line. I'm creating it there. So I can push S on my keyboard and search for the mirror tool. There are two mirror tools. The one I want is the one that does not have the blue triangle in it because it's in a sketch. The object and mirror is this. The mirror line I want to mirror is this one. Okay, and magic. Now I have two holes that are magically a certain distance apart. And I can say how far apart they are by putting D for dimensions, 50 millimeters. So that is one way to do that. The other way to do that would be, instead of drawing circles here, you could draw just points and then use the create hole tool. And it asks for where I want to put the hole. So I click anywhere on that face. And then I can drag it to the center of this circle here, and it should snap in place. Oh, it's not going to snap. Why aren't you snapping? Gotta pick the right piece. Then what's this reference to? There we go. From switch, multiple holes. That's one. There we go. So I did it wrong. I'll go back and show that again. So by default, it goes into single hole placement mode. So I went to from sketch. Now that I've done from sketch, I pick the points that I want the holes. There's two of them, so I select them with the control key. Make them 8 millimeters in diameter. Oh, no, that's the depth. This is the thing I don't like about Fusion. It happens a lot. So these are going to be simple holes that go all the way through. So the depth of them, which is the box that's highlighted currently, is going to be the full depth of the piece. Then the angle, in this case, doesn't matter. But I do want to set the width of the hole, which is the bottom one, 8 millimeters. There it is. If you wanted a countersunk hole, there are options for countersinks or counter bores here. Really up to you on that. My experience with 3D printing is that you can take a countersunk screw and drive it and just crush the plastic, and it'll make a countersink. But if you did want to countersink it, you put countersink. And then there's a little angle slider here, and you can mess with 45 degrees. There's my countersunk holes. It should be set to 45 degrees. And not create hole because the countersink diameter is the same or smaller than the hole diameter. There we go. I'm going to struggle depth a little. I am not an expert on countersinks, as you can well tell, but I am going to that's good enough. Oops. Oh, I screwed up. There we go. I'm just going to make the holes simple holes and move on. Multiple holes. There's one. Control click the other one. These are 4 millimeters thick and 8 millimeters in diameter. And there's your hole. Now we want something to hold the USB hub in place. And so I think that's probably going to look like a little hump for the clip. So here's how I would make a hump for the clip. I need a plane that splits this right in half. There already is one. It's the origin plane, or the origin plane down here. If there wasn't, then I would create one. So anyway, so now I want to sketch on this plane, and I want the P to project in this edge or this body here. Okay, I'm going to hide the body, and that gives me the original, or this here is the hole in the case that I have. Now, if I want to see the USB hub and how it fits in it, and I can turn that one on, I can see that in there. And I do want to do that because I need to project this line and this line as well. Now done. I guess I really don't need this one. I really only need this one because I'm going to mirror it. That's why I don't need that one. All right, okay, now I'm going to turn the bodies off. And I have a couple of lines here. And so what do I want that little clip that's going to hold this in to look like? Well, it's going to come out some distance and then down some distance to be even with the edge of the body. And it's going to come back over here like this. And then there's going to be like a clip that holds it in place. So you do like these two edges here. So I guess I really don't need this line. I'll click on this line, delete it. I've designed this so that there's clearance on all of the sides, but there's not clearance here between the front of the USB hub and the little clip, and that's probably not going to work. Let's take this little point right here and delete this little point. And in fact, I'll delete the whole line. Delete. And instead of that, let's make a little line from here, goes down and out like this. Now I can play with these angles and figure out how I want that clip to work. So I know I have a 0.5 millimeter tolerance on each side of the body, but this line that I've projected here is off the actual body, so it should be pretty close in terms of trying to dimension here. Pick the point, pick the line, pick the point. There we go. So I'm going to say that a 0.5 millimeter is probably good. Okay, now I get to pick how much clearance I want between the face of the USB hub and the little clip. Now 0.5 millimeter is working so well everywhere else. 5. Do that again. I'm going to get to pick how far out I want this to stick. And this is gross overkill. So let's move it back in. And what if we grab just the clippy part there? But I really don't need all this bulk in here. Instead of all this bulk, we made it just a line right there. I don't love that, but it would probably work. Yeah, sure, why not? Once it's snapped in there, it's never going to want to come back out again because of the way that's made. Yeah, why not? So the way these two lines are blue right now, that means you can move them around. I want to constrain them in some way. So thinking about it, this really doesn't need to be two separate lines. I can make them in line with each other. That's collinear, and then that makes it just a straight line. And now I've just got this little clip piece here, and I'm kind of liking that. So that it really doesn't need to be 2 lines though, so we'll just make 1 line instead of 2. Delete, delete. Line from here to here. So looking at that, I feel like that's going to be really hard to get in and out, so I'm going to come back and chamfer this to where it'll help make that corner softer, and then that should help a lot with getting those in and out. When I chamfer that corner, it's going to cost some of this distance. And so I might end up, when you go to test print this, you might need to make it more thicker, larger. I'm thinking about the way that tabs are laid out on other devices, and usually they don't look like this. I'm really not happy with the way this looks, so let's see if there's another way we can do this. What if instead we brought this face out a little ways, brought it down even with that, and then made the clip stick out of this, but be like flexible. I like the way you're thinking. That's good. Yeah, do that. So, is that going to be hard to print? Yes. Here's how you do it. Here's the little clip, and the clip's going to have a little flexible bit to it. Link, and then a little flexible bit. We'll come back. There's the body. That's another way to do the clip. If you push on that really hard, it's going to break. But I like that a lot better. I like that like a lot better. So now we do some things. We know the distance from, we want it to overhang the part. That's how much it's going to hold it in by 0.5 millimeter on each side, maybe 1 millimeter on each side. Let's make it 1 millimeter on each side. So that's the wrong dimension there. Come here, you. Delete. This is dimension from this line to this line. This is how far it should overhang. Yeah, there it is. All right. 1 millimeter. No, not 7 millimeters. 1 millimeter. Zoom it out. Okay. Now, how chunky do we want this to be? 1 millimeter is really thin. 3 is probably better. So Fusion, because my drawing is not well constrained, Fusion has done some funny things with my sketch here. So it didn't know how I wanted this to move. So that tells me a few things. Oh yeah, we're only getting worse. Control C. Let's make this instead of 3. Let's make it like 2. Okay. Oh, things have gone horribly wrong. Get back over here. Nope. 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 All right. Now I'm going to throw this dimension away. You know, Control Z, Control Z, Control Z, Control Z, Control Z, Control Z. There it is. We're back at some sane and rational amount. All right. Let's try walking this up. So there's 1. Okay. Now I don't want this line to move. So I'm going to say, I guess we should decide how far our pivot point is going to be. We need a circle at the pivot point. Circle. 2 is way too much. 1. 1. Yeah, we'll do 1. Now it needs to come. Okay. Make these 2 points coincident with each other. Means they'll touch. Nope. Not what I wanted you to do. I wanted you to take this. Put it right there, just like so. And I'll give you this angle. This angle. This angle is 10 degrees above 15. Nope. 10 degrees it will be. 10.6. So, this geometry here that you see, this is what I'm going to extrude to make this clip. So, finish sketch here. I'm going to make the body visible. That's the body of this. I'm going to take this little clip right here, and I'm going to Q, which is the extrude tool up here. Now, I want to make it symmetrical. Direction, symmetrical. How wide do I want it? 10 millimeters is probably plenty. Total distance is 10 millimeters. You get to pick when you do these if it's the whole length or which I want. There's the whole length. And so there's the clip. Well, I need to do something here though. I'm going to go back to where I did that extrude, and it defaulted to a join, but I actually want to make this into a new body. The reason I want to make it into a new body is I want to mirror it so that it'll flip on the other side as well. Have that done. So here is this body. I'll go under bodies. Here's the original one. Here's the case. I'm going to rename that to case. And then I'll rename this guy to tab or top tab. And now we want to mirror that top tab on to make it strip down at the bottom. So that tool exists somewhere in here. I don't recall where it is, so I'm going to hit S on my keyboard, go to mirror, and now because I'm doing a body, I want the one that has the little blue triangle. Okay. The body I want to mirror is the top tab. The mirror plane is this plane in the origin. Okay. And the operation should be a new body. And there's my other little tab down here on the bottom. I turn the case back on and you can see that's what it'll look like. Last thing I want to do is join those together. And the tool for that is combine. So the target body I want is the case. And the tool bodies are the top tab, press and hold control, and the bottom tab, which I need to rename, I suppose. Okay, and then I get to pick between join, cut, or intersect. I just want to join them. And there you go. That's a case. The last thing that you want to do will be to chamfer and fillet these. And I'm a little iffy on the design of these tabs. I think that might be a little thin right there. But it needs to be thin to be able to flex and PLA without breaking. So we'll see what happens. Or I guess you'll see what happens when you print it. To print this, home view, there it is. I have one body now, which is the case. So then I go up to the utilities workspace, click this make button, and here I can pick if I want an STL or 3MF. 3MF is the file that I usually use. And then I have mine set to go straight to Prusa, but if I uncheck this send to 3D print utility box, then it'll give me an STL file I can save. I'll go ahead and send it to Prusa Slicer. Hit OK. We'll wait a minute. That is coming. It's popped up on my other monitor. Here it is in Prusa Slicer. I want to set it down flat on the print bed, so I'm going to hit place on face, and then I pick the face that I want to end up flat on the print bed, and there it is. I'll mention there were other ways to do tolerances. One of the ways that you can do tolerances is you can make it exactly the same size and then come in here and scale it. That's this scale tool. Use these scale factors down here. And so if I made this 10% bigger in every direction, then that will be another way to do the tolerance there. Anyway, so that's that. I like to print in this draft mode on my printer. It's fast and the quality is great. Pick if I want it in PLA or PETG, depending on which one. And then in single mode, it will ask me on the printer which filament I want to print from. Slice it up, and this comes back as 11 meters of filament, 35 grams, and what's the time on it? An hour, 37 minutes. That's a lot for this, but that's a Plan A design. How could you make that printing time faster? Well, these walls are really super chunky thick. This has lots of square corners in it, and that makes a huge difference in time. If I took these corners and I radiused them with a 1 or 2 millimeter radius, it would probably save 25% of the print time. The other problem that you might have with printing this is these little clips here. They're probably going to need some support to be able to stick properly, or to because this can't print over air, and that's not something you can bridge. And so you would do that here in support, and then you pick where you want the support, slice it again. It's a minimal amount of support, so it doesn't really change the print time. Now we're at an hour 44. All right, that's that. I hope that helps.